there we go.
Well, awesome. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. We are so glad that you are here with us this morning to this wake-up call. This is a great way to start our day together. We are reading from the book, The Little Things Matter, 100 Ways to Improve Your Life today by Todd Smith. And friends, believe it or not, we're on chapter number 85. We've got 15 more chapters to go of this book, and we hope that you are enjoying following along, or maybe you've gotten the book and you're reading it just as we are reading it as well. We're just so glad you're here. So let's take off this morning. Chapter 85, Take Control of Your Finances. How would you like to be in command of your finances, never be in debt again, live free of financial pressure, and retire comfortably when that day arrives? Well, this is possible, but it will require you to do 3 crucial things. Put together a budget, track your expenses, and commit to spending less than you earn. If you want to lead a financially responsible life, then you must have a personal or household budget. Here are a few reasons for living by a budget. Control how your money is spent, saved, and invested. Plan for future expenses. Understand exactly where your money is going. Know what you can and cannot afford. Live within your means and stay out of debt. Have you ever found yourself at the end of a month wondering where all the money went? While it's easy to look back and identify the big expenses, it's the little ones that will add up in the short term and long term. As an example, spending $4 a day on a cup of coffee adds up to $120 a month, or $1,440 a year. Wow. The wow was by me. If instead of spending it on coffee, you choose to invest the $4 a day at 8% interest, your gain, oh my goodness, would be $51,833.79 at the end of 20 years. Making your own lunches rather than eating out could also achieve a similar result. You save an extra $100,000 if you do both. When you create a budget and start tracking expenses, you'll no longer have to wonder where your money went. You will know. Take control by making informed and unemotional decisions in advance about how to spend your money. There are a number of online resources and at your local public library that make it easy to start and maintain a budget. Simply type "how to make a budget" in your favorite search engine for step-by-step directions, free templates, budget calculators, and tips for sticking to a budget. Putting together a budget is not complicated or difficult. Here are the key components of any household budget. Monthly income. Include all sources: paychecks, disability payments, etc. Mandatory or fixed expenses: mortgages or rent, car payments, insurance, child care, etc. Discretionary or controllable expenses: entertainment, dining out, vacations, groceries, utilities, hobbies, etc. Charitable giving: church and other nonprofit agencies. Future needs: savings, emergencies, college funds, or retirement. How much money you allocate to each category will be largely based on your income. Many people use the 10-10-80 guide. 10% of your income goes towards savings and planning for the future. 10% goes toward charitable giving, and the remaining 80% goes toward your mandatory and discretionary expenses. If you find there is not enough money to distribute according to that formula, decide what you must and are willing to change. For example, can you reduce your mandatory or fixed monthly expenses by downsizing or refinancing? Are there discretionary items you can eliminate from your budget? These are personal decisions that only you can make. When it comes to budgeting and managing personal finances, there's room for improvement in all of us. If you don't already have a budget, I strongly encourage you to set one up and start tracking your expenses this month. Use your budget to get smart about your hard-earned money and take control of your financial future. And then he goes on to say, the day you set up a budget and start tracking your expenses is the day you take control of your financial future. So there we have it. We're sorry about all the interruptions. We thought we muted the lines out, and Jamie said he did. So if you're unmuted, if you can please mute, we'd appreciate that. We're sorry about all the technical difficulties. But I got to tell you, this chapter really made me go back and think about some things that Jamie and I did early on in our marriage. We actually had made the decision that when I became pregnant with James, that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And that decision was easy to make because that was just something we had always planned on, but it was very difficult to make from the financial aspect of that decision because I was a teacher and Jamie was working in a factory, and I was the one that was bringing home the most money. And we sat down and we looked at our finances, and at first it just seemed absolutely impossible. Like, how are we ever going to make this work? But we were very determined that that's what we wanted to do for our family. And so as we sat down and we started to write out all those expenses like Todd explained in the book, that we just read, in the chapter we just read together, we started to do that, and we realized, you know what, there are a lot of things that we can cut out that we don't need that we're going to save money. So we immediately, one of the biggest things for us was our cable bill, and we looked at that and we thought, oh my goodness, you know what, this is something that we could cut out that we're going to save quite a lot of money on, that money that we were using to watch TV late at night, we could actually use and put towards something, for example, like groceries. And so we just started to make this switch. Another thing we did, we didn't have cell phones at the time, and that was another thing. You know, everybody was getting cell phones around this time, and everybody we knew had cell phones, but we just decided that's something that we did not need at the time. It wasn't an actual thing that we had to have. So we did without, and we didn't eat out. You know, that was another thing, and Todd talked about it in the book, and you don't really realize how those little things start to add up. And, you know, we didn't eat out, and we weren't eating out a lot anyways. Maybe once over the weekend, you know, we'd order a pizza. Or we would go out on a date and we would eat at a restaurant. And we just decided to cut all of that out. We said, okay, we're going to cut that out for the time being. We didn't cut it out and say we're never going to do this again. We just knew that there's always a cost to things. And we made that decision together that for us at the time, the most important thing was that we were making the decision that I was going to stay home with James. And so we just started to cut those things out. And along the way, we started to have a budget. And that's carried us through until we sat here now, you know, almost 20 years later, still following a budget, still looking at things that, you know, we allocate towards a vacation. We allocate towards groceries. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do, excuse me, when you sit down and you start to track. I really believe that there's something very valuable, and there's a scientific proof that when you sit down and you put pen to paper and you write things out, where you have to see them, it's almost shocking. And I know it was for us. I remember doing this and sitting down and writing things out and saying, oh my gosh, look at how much we're spending every single month on cable. Look at how much we're spending when we go out to eat. Look at how much, and you know, it starts to add up. And so I think really, you know, I don't want to use the word force, but for some of us, we just got to force ourselves to sit down and really start to see where is our money going. You know, nowadays, too, there's a lot of subscription things out there that, you know, we subscribe to things and we forget to unsubscribe, and before you know it, you're like, where is all my money? Where is this going? Where's my money going? And you really can look at that. So, you know, I encourage you today, look through some of your subscriptions that you might have, you know, for things that you've forgotten about, that you just kind of take for granted. And so, you know, I really appreciate this chapter because it's a great reminder, I think, for all of us to just go back and look and say, okay, you know, where can I start to really track and see where my money's going? And I think that's something, you know, also when I was in school growing up, that, you know, we weren't taught how to take care of money. I wasn't taught how to do taxes. I was taught how to do trigonometry, and I was taught how to, you know, do some other things that I don't want to say are not valuable right now, But, my hope and prayer is that kids start at a young age to really understand financial responsibility, financial integrity, and how to track and budget their expenses. And it's something that we try to teach here with the boys at homeschool, and I think it's very, very important. I'd love to see like a tax class in high schools where, you're taught how to do your taxes. I think that could be something very valuable for the future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie for him to add his thoughts to it.
All right. Well, thank you. And yes, I've always followed a budget. I've never had a $4 cup of coffee in my life. Just for the record, when he said that, and I believe there are probably a lot more than that now because the book is dated. But I've never had $4. I mean, I guess that's one of those things. But I was just thinking when you were talking about the everything and subscriptions, and it really that's just it goes right along the Planet Fitness business model is that people will subscribe to something that they will inevitably probably not use. It's so little, right? $10 a month, and you subscribe for 2 years or a year, you sign up for this plan, and they set it up in such a way because they know that the majority of people won't cancel it. They'll forget about it. It's so minimalistic, and people want to go and get healthy, but they won't use it. And because it's such a small thing, it's one of those things we kind of live in with all of the streaming services and all of the things like that, and Planet Fitness has this, that's their business model. If you read into it, you look into it, that's their whole thought process behind it. That's why it's so inexpensive. Because it's so inexpensive, people won't cancel it, but yet they won't use it. And it's just another thing, one of those things when you think about how many of those things in your life, you kind of look at things, it's like everything else in the book, right? The little things are the big things, and you just have to take a look at those little things because, as he shared, they can add up. They can make a big difference in your life. So with that, that's all we got for today. We love and appreciate y'all. I will unmute the lines so everyone can say goodbye. And we'll be back here tomorrow with the next chapter. Let's see.
Thank you.
All right. Goodbye. We love y'all.
Have a good day.
Thank you. That is a good reminder for